for people who have like been living under a rock the last few weeks and have no idea what's going on, and they just see that phrase "Let's go Brandon" everywhere. Which, by the way, I kind of feel bad for that NASCAR driver Brandon, because he's now become a part of this that he didn't ask
Mm.
for. It just sort of happened. Um, but we're going to talk a little bit more about how the cathedral, the corporate press, big tech, the official opinion molders, how they've now responded to this phenomenon more so than the little song and dance itself. So I want you to take a look at this picture right here. For this show, I wanted to showcase uh, that some imagery, the music, whatever, and all of the top hits are all corporate press outlets talking about "Let's Go Brandon" in a derogatory sense, painting it as a conservative smear, painting it as something that only the far right would be a part of, saying that it's an attack on all Democrats in general, and and kind of painting this narrative that only some small fraction of the population would have anything to do with it. Um, but that's just not true. That's just not true. And so I wanted to say a few things about this. The first, that I call them SMLs. So SML stands for social media leftists. So if you ever go on Twitter, and I use Twitter. I like to go on Twitter because it's the perfect place to just sort of kind of see what the other side of the fence is talking about. You could just sort of kind of get a glimpse into the world of the noxious leftist mind. What are the stories in the news? What's everyone abuzz about? And so I go on Twitter, and so you see the corporate press and the big tech, these social media leftists. They're they're now saying either they just ignore it, they just deny that it exists, or they're saying now that the whole "Let's Go Brandon" phenomenon is sort of like this MAGA Trump psyop thing, as if Donald Trump himself said, "Hey guys, let's chant 'Let's Go Brandon." Um, and they're trying to say that it's really an attack on the whole left, on the whole Democratic establishment. And don't get me wrong, if you want to attack the whole Democratic establishment, more power to you. But that's not really true. The chant literally is a stand-in for the words "fuck Joe Biden." So it's literally directed at Joe Biden. I feel like this can't be any more clear than that.
Yeah.
Um but the important thing is that it's so important to them to paint the whole phenomenon as only being the fringe. Only there's only like 10 or 15% of these rednecks in flyover country. Those are the only people saying "Let's go Brandon." And because it's so important for them to signal to their in group, "Hey guys, it's going to be okay, just remain calm. They're just being big meanie poo poo heads. They don't have the numbers we do." And that's why it's so important for them to do that, because it's not true. I
Hmm.
would these SMLs, as I call them, social media leftists, they're not an accurate representation of the country as a whole, and not even close. And no matter how hard Twitter props up and uses, no matter how much people like Facebook use algorithms to distort thought, these people are not the majority. They're really not. And so the latest agitprop that the cathedral is rolling out is, it's some sort of racist conspiracy. What's the crude and vulgar history? Politics is sunken so low. The latest is "Let's Go Brandon." And by the way, this is just something for everybody to remember. This is my prediction. They're going to call it a racist dog whistle. That's going to happen next. If they haven't already done it by the time you're hearing my voice, I bet the next thing they're going to do is it's going to be only racists say "Let's go Brandon." Even though, of course, the dude in the music video is clearly I'm willing to bet not a white supremacist. I'm
Pro-
willing to go out there on that. What was
Probably not.
the Chappelle character? Clayton
Oh,
Bigsby.
Clayton. Yeah.
Clayton Bigsby, yeah. That's what they're gonna say. Um, this is one of those Matrix type moments. And what I mean by that is that sometimes when you finally see things, you can't unsee it. And what I mean by that for this is that when you see how the official narrative gets churned out by the cathedral for all of their lackeys to absorb, it's their new programming, as they like. If you're an NPC type person, they reprogram all their NPCs to think a certain way, and then they want them to spread it. Once you see that happening, like live in real time, you can't unsee it. then you start looking at all the news through a totally different lens. You start seeing it saying, well, I know that they have an agenda here. I can tell they're trying to get people to think and act a certain way. They're not just trying to inform me anymore. You can just see it. This isn't an organic opinion. This is programming. They're trying to get people to, they're signaling to their in group that if you see or hear "Let's Go Brandon," that's just angry Trumpists who are mad that their guy lost and they're just trying to be mean to Democrats. So much deflection away from, of course, what the phrase is standing for. Fuck Joe Biden. Yeah. Is anybody happy with Joe Biden? Like, and again, I don't mean social media leftists. They don't count. They're not representative of the country at large. I have come across all manner of people who are centrists, who are apolitical, people who are not, I'm not talking about like libertarians like us. I've run across all manner of people who are center lean left, who are swing voters, the type of people that they court during general elections because they can vote either way. And people who have been predominantly Democratic voters who are saying, "Let's go, Brandon." I'm seeing that everywhere. It's just so important to tell people that when you see a phenomenon like this take off and become so widespread, that's not just like Republicans. This is way bigger than just Republicans making fun of Democrats. It's a lot more people than that. This is one of those, we're trying to be more optimistic these days. I know Dave is, not so much me. I'm going to try my best to be more optimistic. This is how you know that we're going to win. Because a whole lot more people than just registered Republicans are chanting "Let's Go Brandon" at like all the sporting events and all the games and all the concerts and all the public. You go around town, you hear people saying "Let's Go Brandon." Those aren't all just registered Republicans, because registered Republicans don't make up that high of a percentage of the population. A whole lot of people have adopted what is being expressed by that saying. It goes back to my point from earlier in the show. I was out eating with a couple of friends recently. We went to Pancho's, the greatest restaurant on earth. And that was what we were talking about, is everyone saying "Let's go, Brandon." People are just walking around saying it and laughing. And part of it is what it is. People hate Joe Biden. And part of it is people aren't happy between the economy and inflation and labor shortages that are not really labor shortages because they're just being created by mandates and vax passes. That's creating a labor shortage. Between the airlines and the prices at the pump and the grocery store. Definitely the pump. Now there's one you can see the inflation and change in gas prices big time. People are not happy. And when there's just a general discontentment, people are going to look to the top. It happened to Trump, right? Even though, of course, the whole media establishment was anti-Trump. But as a general rule of thumb, on top of the whole media establishment being anti-Trump, Trump was the guy in office when the Rona started and the economy's going in the shitter. And he's still to blame, by the way. There's a lot of MAGA types that want to let him off the hook. He's the one that went all in on that crap on day one, you remember? He was the one that was doing press conferences with Fauci on day one. Mm-hmm. And so he has to own that too. And a whole lot of people were really unhappy, and there was a whole lot of uncertainty in the country. And that, more often than not, spells doom for an incumbent. And that's exactly what happened. So I don't know, man. Maybe the silver lining here is that clown world has just gotten squeaky enough that the next go round is going to be a really big pushback the other way.
That's usually how it ends up. Usually an overcorrection. That's how we ended up with Trump. I feel like that's how we ended up with Biden.
Yes, I've told some people that my prediction for the next few election cycles is Biden's going to be out. There's going to be, as you put it, an overcorrection, and you're going to have Trump 2.0 is going to come in, and they're going to sweep away Biden, but they're going to bring in some of their own evils along with them. But then there'll be another overcorrection the other way, and then Biden's going to look like a freaking Reagan Republican compared to whatever the hell is coming. I can't even fathom what's going to happen, but any policy that even Biden says, "Oh man, guys, I don't know, that might be a step too far," the next guy will be like, "Let's do it on day one."
Yeah.
That's my prediction. So now I went from being optimistic to being terribly pessimistic.
Yeah, because too many overcorrections. And then you're in the ditch.
Yeah, exactly. Good
in the
job,
wall.
Dave. I like that. Muhammad Atta, the mastermind of the 9/11 hijackings. You know what his last words were before the plane hit? Let's go, Brandon.
Pretty sure that's right.
Mm-hmm. That's why I keep Dave around. He's a yes man. He's just sort of along for the ride.